Well, over the last couple of years, e-tolls have caused a lot of emotional heat and light. Joining us now to look at an operational update on the e-tolling system are Jamie Surkont, who's CEO of Electronic Toll Collection, the company ETC, and Mark Ridgway, Chief Operating Officer of ETC. Good morning to you, Jamie. As I say, this is not about whether we want to pay e-tolls or not, or whether the system is good. We're talking operationally here, and there have been a lot of what looked like glitches and people getting accounts they shouldn't have. And I actually said on this show that I'd got an account and that I'd paid it, and then it was said you owe nothing, and I couldn't work out what was going on. So maybe just set the scene. What has the problem been?
Well, first of all, good morning, and thank you for the opportunity for having this session. I think first to say is that we've been 80 days of tolling already, and from a system perspective, we certainly believe that the system is stable. We have obviously had some challenges, and that's been in the media every day. The majority of the challenges that we faced typically around our customer services side of things. So in that instance, I think that there are elements that we've been focusing on and taking use cases out of the media. Typically there's a lot of high profile cases that come up, and we've been utilizing those to try and improve and understand where the issues are in terms of the glitches and or customer service elements.
Mark, Jamie speaks of customer services glitches. I'm assuming this emanates from your reliance and dependence on the e-native system. If that is the case, why that particular decision, especially given the fact that it's really proving to be fraught with inaccuracies?
I think, Nasipa, there's nothing else that we can use in order to tie the vehicle back to the individual. So we are stuck with that. But the entire problem doesn't lie with e-natus. It lies a lot with the road users that don't update their data. So it's not only inaccurate data, it's incomplete data. And we're working hard, obviously, to use other sources in order to contact people when we need to.
Jamie, how bad has the problem been? You know, people complain, people phone radio talk shows, and it sounds like everyone's having a problem. So in terms of scale, how many people have used the system and how many problems have there been? You must have stats.
Yes, I think a very good question. So if you look at the average number of transactions, for example, that we do on a monthly basis, it's around 65 million, give or take. The vehicle population, if we want to use that in terms of the unique vehicle license plate numbers that we typically see on the network on a monthly basis, are around 2.5 million. To give you an indication of volume of complaints that we're receiving, are around, roughly speaking, 10,000 complaints a month. And what we find, a lot of those complaints and inquiries, I think it'd be probably unfair to say that they're all complaints, but those inquiries, a lot of it, and I would say probably 80 to 85%, require additional clarification from our side. So there is a complexity in the solution. There's definitely complexity, if I can use the word business rules, or the subject business rules, and often where a lot of the frustrations, which I sympathize very much with the road user, is in respect of our ability at a first tier level of customer service to be able to deal with those inquiries.
Maybe I could ask there, operationally, you're the operations officer.
Yes.
Obviously nothing goes as you expect, and maybe when the whole system was designed you expected more people to pick up the e-tags, fewer people that you had to bill individually, because I mean, I've got the e-tag, you just forget about it. It's much easier that way. There were things you didn't expect.
There's always going to be things that you don't expect when you design a system, build a system, and then turn it into operations. That's one of the challenges that we have. I think just to head back towards Jamie's answer and to expand on that a little bit, you find that someone may receive an SMS for 300 Rand, and then when they get an invoice, the invoice reads 70 Rand, and there's a confusion there that is created, and so they say there's a billing crisis. The reality is that the SMS rolls up your entire account together and says that you may have 3 vehicles that you owe 300 Rand on, but you receive an invoice for 1 vehicle.
Right.
So there are those kinds of complexities that come in, and that's the challenge that we have in terms of trying to explain to the road user exactly how it works and what's happening.
Staying with you, Mark, I mean, understanding that you are working behind the scenes to, straighten out many of these clinks or chinks in the system. But let's talk timeframes. What's realistic? When can we expect the system to be running smoothly without some of these problems?
Well, to reiterate once again, the system is smooth. It's running perfectly as it was designed. We're working very hard on customer service levels to ensure that we are meeting the requirements of people who phone in, that we can answer those queries. We are boosting our frontline staff in the points of presence, our customer service centres, in order so that we can have super users out there with maybe some more knowledge to help those more complicated inquiries that come in.
Yeah.
Jamie, you've come, no, not you personally, but I mean, the e-tolling has come under criticism for the tone of the messages that go out to the various users. And I see Mark smiling there. I don't know who's responsible for actually writing these, but where does that come from, and why is this hostility? And this is what I haven't received one of these, so I haven't seen the language or the tone. But again, tracking back to what David was saying, if you're listening to some of the talk radio shows, everybody's complaining that the tone of the language is quite hostile.
I think so. Everything with hindsight is easy, and certainly we acknowledge that in the first instances when you move to the collection centre, that the wording of those SMSs and those communications can be improved. Actually, we've gone as far as already improving much of that, let's say more customer-centric, if I can use that word, approach. And I think it's important, there's some items that you should understand about this. I mean, this is a lighthouse project globally. This is a world first, and South Africa should be very proud of that, and we're certainly very proud of that in terms of what is being delivered. There's complexities with our user base, our patrons, is that if you take most businesses, when they start off, typically patrons come on board as the services are expanded. We effectively switch on at day one, and we have to deal with 2.5 million road users, if you want to look at it that way. So with hindsight, certainly we would have changed and done some things differently.
One thing that worries me, it always does when you're doing something and you think, well, what about the other guy? It's like when the traffic cop stopped you, say, what about him? He was going faster than I was and you stopped me. I see quite a lot of cars on the road with no number plates. And you think, no, this is just wrong. I mean, it's wrong anyway, never mind e-tolling. How do you deal with this?
Well, I think this is an interesting one, is that e-tolling actually in a way is dealing with historic and or legacy issues in South Africa. So, I mean, no number plate on a highway or on the roads is nothing new to us. But now with the introduction of e-tolling on these roads, it becomes a little bit more focused. And in respect of this, what we have is through Sunwell, we have partnerships with various police agencies, and there is already active enforcement ongoing on the roads in that respect, so focusing on things like no number plates. And within the next few weeks, there will be an announcement from Sunwell in respect of a new and more focused enforcement program, looking at things like cloned vehicles, duplicate number plates, and these things are things that are kind of complicating our lives as well, because a lot of queries emanate from this. But it's not my vehicle. I live in the Western Cape. I live in KwaZulu-Natal. How can it be? So we have a focus on that.
Very quickly, Jamie, should we be concerned if we look at some of the leadership instability we've seen that there's been a couple of resignations, Ben Turon for one. I know that that's a historical fact, but is that something that's under control now? Is there stability on that front?
Yes, I don't think there has been instability. In respect of the commitment of ETC and its shareholders to South Africa, it has always been to South Africanize the project. So when you look at the replacement at my level, the individual who was holding it was an expatriate, and contract was coming to an end. We also have other expatriates, by the way, within our organization which are currently leaving, and by the end of March we will have one expatriate out of 1,500 people which are currently working for us. So in terms of stability, I don't think that that's ever been an issue. I actually think that the changes that have taken place have been for the benefit. Utilizing Ben Turon as an example, Ben did an excellent job in respect of the hiatus period. You need to appreciate some of the challenges that we've had is waiting for 2.5 years and keeping staff motivated. Actually, during that period, we've trained more than twice the staff we need because of the attrition rates that we've had. So instead of training 1,500 people, we've trained more than 3,000 people, which is a benefit to the economy if you look at it that way, because these people are now out there. But no, I don't think stability is an issue.
Well, fascinating stuff on the operational side of e-tolling.